What's up everybody, Ninth Jim here, back with another VGC 2020 Pokemon Sword and Shield competitive video with single spotlight. Today we're talking about Dhelmise, the Ghost Grass type Pokemon. Really good counter to Trick Room teams, so if you're running a team that doesn't like Trick Room, you can just put Dhelmise on there. It has a really good place against a lot of Trick Room Pokemon, common things like the Rhyperior. It's slower than Torkoal, so if they set Trick Room, you are slower than Torkoal, which is really cool, and Ferrothorn. But it's cool to be slower than Torkoal because of Liquidation. It's super effective. We do a lot of damage out to it, and knock its Eruption down very low, and then Eruption probably won't OHKO us. Probably should have that in my damage calc, but oh well. We're really good against things like Rhyperior. Obviously Gastrodon is very, very good against that. Jellicent, even Gothitelle with Phantom Force. You have just a huge array. It's really, really good against a lot of Trick Room teams and just Trick Room Pokemon in general. We also have access to the item Iron Ball, making us 20 speed, having our speed, making us faster than Torkoal, making us faster than all these speed, slow speed, min speed Trick Room Pokemon. So that's a really good item to have. We can also have other ones, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So first off, with Ghost Grass typing, we're immune to normal and fighting, which is pretty solid. Exactly what you would expect. Resistance is water, electric, grass, ground. Those are really good resistances across the board. Those are all very, very played types that are really good. So you have a lot of really good switch-ins, which is really good to have on a Pokemon that you're going to be switching into with Trick Room up. A lot of times you're going to have your team being pretty fast and pretty good, and then just a Dhelmise, boom, so that you can bring it in on Trick Room, you know, let it last a few turns in Trick Room, and then just deal some good damage and not take a whole lot of damage, because it is fairly bulky, and we'll talk about the stats here in one moment. Weaknesses to Fire, Ice, Flying, Ghost, and Dark. Pretty bad. Across the board, all really, really powerful typings, really prevalent typings, so you have a lot of weaknesses, and that's something you're going to have to keep in mind with this Pokemon. However, like I said, we're really bulky, so we can definitely live some of those. We're not like really bulky, but we're like decently bulky, so we can definitely take a bunch of those attacks. Anyway, into our stats. So as far as our bulk goes, we have 70 HP, which is like solid. It's not great, but it's fine. 100 defense, which is really good, and then 90 special defense, which is pretty average, a little above average. All of those are really strong stats, just because we can just live a lot. We can live a lot of attacks, which is really, really good with this Pokemon. Complementing that, we have an insane attack. 131 attack points. That is really, really powerful. This Pokemon can deal out a lot of damage with really strong stab moves, even steel typing, becoming stab. So essentially this Pokemon has 3 stab moves, which is the Power Whip, the Anchor Shot, and Phantom Force. It's really, really good. It's a good typing. It's really powerful. Great stats across the board. It's really good. And then 40 speed, 20 speed, 40 speed, but with the Iron Ball it becomes 20, and with Brave Nature and 0 IVs it becomes 20, which is really good. So yeah, that's about it for the overview. We'll go ahead and jump into the build. So ability is Steelworker, giving you that 50% increase of power of steel type moves, giving you another stab essentially, which is really, really powerful. Obviously not with Weezing out on the field, but like, come on, who plays Weezing anymore? Weezing's really cool, but you never see it. Iron Ball as an item, this just halves our speed, really good against Trick Room Pokemon as the Trick Room counter. This is what we're using as a Trick Room counter. You can use like a really fast team, a really good team, and then just slap the Iron Ball Dhelmise on it, just so that you can outspeed certain things, which is really good. And it plays really well into Trick Room. You can obviously run something else like Chandelure that has Trick Room in Prison, or you can run Mimikyu that just has Trick Room to reverse Trick Room. There's a plethora of ways that you can play around Trick Room without just slapping a slow boy on, but this is a really good option for just slapping a slow boy on. It has a really good place in the meta as well with the its move set, and we'll talk about that here right now. So actually, first off, let's talk about its other items that you could use. So you could also use Weakness Policy. Since it has a lot of really prevalent weaknesses, you can put Weakness Policy on and then just Dynamax it, and this Pokemon becomes a huge threat with already boosted 50% on all of its attacks except for the Liquidation, and that can set Max Rain or Max Geyser, which sets Rain. And then and then be dealing more damage with that. And then weakness policy just becomes really strong. And then also we're already using all 4 attacks are just attacks, so you can use Assault Vest as well really well with this Pokemon. However, I just didn't see it needed. You can use it though, it's definitely good. I just like Iron Ball. I feel like it's really good for this Pokemon, but you can use that Assault Vest as well. Anyway, onto our moveset. So we have Power Whip, which is really good. It's the best physical attacking stab move that we have access to. Obviously it misses, you know, there's nothing you can do about that, but it will miss sometimes. And then we also have Liquidation. This is mainly for spread, so this is so that we can deal with that Torque Hole, since we underspeed it, which is really good. And then things like Arcanine we can deal with. You know, we still lose that matchup most likely because Flamethrower does more than that damage, and if they don't have Trick Room set, then we're slower, like by a lot. And but yeah, I think Liquidation is good just to have that spread. And then we also have Anchor Shot, which is good. It prevents the foe from switching out, which is pretty cool. You can trap some things, which is really good. It's also very solid steel. Stab 80 base power, I believe. It's pretty good. And then we also have Phantom Force as our last one. This is also stab. It's 2 turns, so it's not always the best. You know, you can definitely just opt to not use it if you don't like it. You can switch it out for Shadow Claw, just giving up a little bit of that damage. However, I like Phantom Force. It gets through Protect. It's just a really reliable way of killing things a lot of the time, even though it takes 2 turns, but it happens, you know, that be how it be sometimes. Onto our flex moves. So we have Gyro Ball. So since this Pokemon is so slow, Gyro Ball should obviously be on the Pokemon. However, like I've been saying, this is mostly to work around Trick Room teams. You usually won't bring this Pokemon if you aren't playing against a Trick Room team. So I think Gyro Ball does significantly less damage than Anchor Shot a lot of the time when you're up against slower Pokemon. Obviously, if they bring their fast mode or their mid speed mode, Gyro Ball may do more damage, but I still like Anchor Shot more. You can definitely run it over Phantom Force as well if you don't need that ghost coverage. I just like the ghost coverage. I think it's better to have a ghost type attack when the ghost type Pokemon, you know, makes sense. And then Shadow Claw, you could switch out Phantom Force. It gives up a little bit of base power, but it doesn't get through Protect, and it's 1 turn. So it's just a completely different move. Actually, like, there's comparing, but, you know, you can definitely, they both have their ups and downs. And then we also have Earthquake as just more coverage. This is really good, especially if you pair it with a Flyer, or just an immunity in general. Is obviously very strong. And then we also have Ally Switch. I just like Ally Switch on just about anything that can get Ally Switch. I think a lot of people have used Ally Switch on this Pokemon, and it's really just good, especially on a ghost type, you know, because you have 2 immunities. So they bring out Conkeldurr to deal with your like Tyranitar with a Mach Punch or something, and you're like, Ally Switch, oh, you know, oh, like that. Anyway, so that's it for our moves. So into our stats, it's pretty basic. We just have 252 invested into HP, and then 252 plus invested into attack. Being Brave Nature, we're plus attack minus speed, just to be as slow as possible, so that we hit down to that 20 mark. We're slower than everything super relevant in the game initially, which is really good. So yeah, that's it for that. On to our synergetic Pokemon, into our synergies. So we have a couple of Pokemon that are low Trick Room mode, so you can play things on your team. So like I said, a lot of teams that use Dhelmise, it'll be like the only Trick Room Pokemon. You can also play it with a Trick Room Pokemon, a low maintenance Trick Room Pokemon, something like Jellicent that can run in or out of Trick Room, Chandelure, Mimikyu, all of these Pokemon that can set Trick Room to have a Trick Room mode, or just not. You know, you can run it either way. And then Dhelmise can also just chill there, like in or out of Trick Room. You know, obviously it wants to be in Trick Room since its 20 speed is really slow. It's going to go last no matter what. But there's no quad weaknesses. It's it's fairly bulky, so you can definitely live a good couple of attacks. And if you play at the weakness policy mode, I would suggest playing the weakness policy Dhelmise and then 1 low maintenance Trick Room user, things like the Bronzong, the Chandelure, Mimikyu, Jellicent, something like that, something along those lines. And then for other Pokemon, so we have Milotic. Milotic covers a lot of weaknesses, and so does Dhelmise. They just like complement each other really well. You know, like Milotic resisting the fire or ice and having neutral damage to flying, ghost, dark, but it's super bulky, so it lives all those attacks. And then Dhelmise being weak to things like fire, well, Milotic resists it, you know, or Milotic is weak to grass and electric, and Dhelmise resists both of those. So that's just a really powerful synergy. And then to piggyback off of Dhelmise likes fast teams, just as a counter to Trick Room on a fast team. Things like the Tyranitar Excadrill, things that are famously very, very fast and aggressive. You can run Dhelmise on that team and just swap it in. Whenever you see a Trick Room user, using Trick Room, you just bring it in, resist an attack, hit huge damage, and then outlast the Trick Room, and then bring back in your fast engine, and you just win from there. And that's kind of like the whole point of Dhelmise, I think, or the best use of it. And then shout outs to the weakness policy build as well. Really, really powerful stuff. It's an insane attack. There's not really much you can do. You can burn it and intimidate it, but it's still doing a lot of damage even through that with weakness policy proc, so that's really good as well. Some threats, so we have Arcanine, more so either one obviously, but special, we have a little bit less special defense, and it probably isn't going to be invested into special attack very much. I have some damage calcs for Arcanine actually, but Flamethrower, we will usually lose that battle. Flamethrower does like more than the damage that Liquidation does after Intimidate, and it just does a lot of damage in general. Like you don't really want to be in against an Arcanine unless you're outspeeding it with Trick Room. Like if Trick Room's up and then they throw out their Arcanine, then it's fine because we're outspeeding and we can kill it before it kills us because we both just two-shot each other. But Trick Room won't always be up. And so then next we have Snorlax, Belly Drum, Darkest Lariat or Belly Drum Max Darkness kills us instantly. Like there's nothing we can do about that. So Belly Drum, like that's kind of scary. It takes a turn, so it's not max replenishing, but either way. And then after it's like not maxed anymore, if it still has Belly Drum, its Darkest Lariat just kills us, like OHKOs us immediately, so there's nothing we can do about that. And then last but not least, Corviknight. It just does so with Brave Bird or something like that, it does a lot of damage, and there's not really much we can do, and then nothing in our arsenal really does much damage to it past neutral. Like everything just does neutral damage, and it would even outspeed us, unless Trick Room is active, but I don't know if we might not even two-shot, so yeah, not a great matchup. So yeah, that's it for this first slide. We're really far in the video. We'll go ahead and jump into speed tiers. So darn it. Where was it? That was at the bottom. That sucked. Anyway, so all the way down here at 20. We are at 20. We're really, really slow. 20 is really slow. Really good for Trick Room. The only thing that gets down to that speed tier is Snorlax after a curse. So if you run into Curselax, that could be a problem. It'll curse and then it'll go for a Darkest Lariat on us, and that'll suck. But it is what it is. We can just deal with that if it happens. Or just like get out of there if we see Snorlax cursing up, and then deal with it with something else. Next we have 22 Torkoal and Ferrothorn that will always be above us, right above us, because they'll always be at 22. There's no use ever running those Pokemon with more speed than that. And then next we have Gigalith and Dusclops at 27 min speed. Those Pokemon you'll see probably at that tier most of the time. Gigalith maybe not, but Dusclops you'll always see right there. And then we also have Hatterene at 30. You'll like 99% of the time you'll see it at that speed tier as well. And then at 31 we have Snorlax, Runerigus, and Reuniclus. All of those you'll probably see at that speed. Maybe not Snorlax. Snorlax may be up from there, but Reuniclus will usually be min speed. And then past that we have obviously like the Gastrodon and the Rhyperior and stuff that all will outspeed us initially, but not after Trick Room is set. So yeah, that's it for speed tiers. That was really quick. As far as our damage calcs go, so we have a lot of damage, or like it's 6. It's like every single time, but so first off we have Power Whip into Jellicent. This is really, really good actually. This is in our favor. So this is the Jellicent build that won Dallas. It was on Aaron Treller's team. I think I'd bring up this team every single video because it's just something that a lot of people are basing spreads off of, or even just using that team. You'll see the team or like those spreads a lot of the time, so this is just what you'll see a lot. So it's 140 HP and 236 defense. Jellicent, Power Whip into that, guaranteed OHKOs. It hits 118 to 139%. Super good. That's what we want to be doing every time. We want to just kill Jellicent, which is good. And then for our next one, we have Intimidated. So we're -1 attack on liquidation into the Arcanine. Does 43 to 51%. Might not even OHKO or like a 2-hit KO. That's not a matchup you want to run into, really, is Arcanine. Because Flamethrower into us does 62 to 74%. Guaranteed OHKO when we don't even have a guaranteed 2-hit KO. They have a guaranteed 2-hit KO. I think I said OHKO. But yeah, so they'll typically win that matchup. So that kind of sucks. Especially since Arcanine is on the... Arcanine is one of the most used Pokemon. I think second used, just barely under Togekiss. Togekiss is dumb. Anyway, so that's it for Arcanine. We usually lose that matchup. And then next we have Tyranitar Crunch into our boy. Doesn't kill us. We do die to Sandstorm damage after it. But we do return OHKO, so they'll hit a Crunch into us. They won't kill us, and then we'll kill... That says guaranteed 2-hit KO after Sandstorm damage. But if it only does 79%, then Sandstorm won't kill us. So that's not a guaranteed... Or, yeah. Guaranteed 2-hit KO, yeah. If it gets a perfect roll, it could OHKO us with Sandstorm damage, but whatever. We OHKO them guaranteed as well. Power Whip into the Tyranitar hits 119 to 140%. Really solid stuff. We OHKO the Jellicent and Tyranitar. That's really good. And then Phantom Force from a Dragapult into us only does 82 to 98%. Ha! We live it. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's about it for our damage. Calcs, we'll go ahead and jump into single spotlight. We're breezing through it now after we get through that first slide. Anyway, so single spotlight. This Pokemon doesn't have much use in singles, honestly. It's good. It's spin blocks since it's a ghost type, and it has rapid spin, so it can get rid of entry hazards. However, it doesn't have too much else. So it's like fairly offensive and fairly bulky as well. So we'll just max into HP and attack, just like the other build, but instead of Adamant and Min Speed, or instead of Brave and Min Speed, we're going Adamant and full speed. So we're 60 speed here, which is solid. It's the same set across the board. Not really. It's very, very similar though. So item, we went with Leftovers. This Pokemon really appreciates to be on the field a little bit longer. Dhelmise is pretty solid, being able to spin block, rapid spin, and then set off rapid spin. So Pokemon that like entry hazards, Pokemon that use entry hazards, things like Ferrothorn and Toxapex and Pokemon like that, like this Pokemon on their team, being able to spin block, stop things from rapid spinning you. That's a really good, it's very useful tactic that you can have. And then you also just throw off rapid spin, so Pokemon like Dracovish and Corviknight and Rotom Heat, Pokemon like that really appreciate this Pokemon on their team, just being able to rapid spin away those entry hazards so they can come in, do some damage, and really get off the ground. Yeah. So for our move pool, we have, or move set, we have Power Whip for stab, Shadow Claw for stab, Anchor Shot for essentially stab with Steelworker, and then Rapid Spin. It's pretty generic set. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect. So yeah, that's all I have for this Pokemon actually in singles. It's not super big. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video today. Dhelmise, expect I don't remember what I'm doing tomorrow, but also I'm gonna start a new series here pretty soon. Where I team build and stuff. Team build and then play with that team on Pokemon Showdown. So definitely keep that in mind and check out the channel. Come back and check that out. I hope that'll be a good series. I don't know. I just want to do something else, and that's what I came up with. So yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today's video. So thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, like and subscribe. It means so much to me. We're almost at time where I do the official giveaway announcement, and yeah. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.